everyone, and thank you for joining us for the BPM Change Management PRR Review Monthly Meeting. My name is Nicole Hines, representing the ISO Customer Readiness, and I will be facilitating today's web conference for you. Today's call is being recorded. These recordings are for informational and convenience purposes only, and any related transcription should not be reprinted without the ISO's permission. We will be taking questions throughout the call today. You can enter the question queue at any time by pressing #2 on your telephone keypad. Please introduce yourself before asking your questions. As a reminder, these monthly calls are structured to stimulate an honest dialogue and engage in different perspectives. While we welcome comments and questions, please remember to keep comments friendly and respectful. The purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the proposed revision requests that are in the initial or recommendation stage of the process. We will be discussing 14 PRRs today. 4 are in the initial stage and 10 are in the recommendation stage, and all have been submitted by the ISO today. The purpose of the business practice manuals is to set forth business practices that implement the ISO tariff. The ISO conducts a yearly public initiative roadmap process to consider and rank initiatives. Policy changes submitted through the PRR process will be referred to as policy initiative roadmap process. Each subject area in a BPM is based on enabling language in the ISO tariff, and the PRR process cannot be used to introduce changes that are not supported by existing tariff authority. I do have one housekeeping item for everyone today. Just to let you know that there are summer readiness PRRs. If you are intending to submit a PRR with an effective date before July 1st, they will be considered emergency PRRs. The next deadline to submit PRRs is this Friday, April 30th, so there's still time to submit any PRRs that you might be interested in submitting. The first section that we're going to talk about is settlements and billings BPM. We currently have 9 PRRs for settlements, so instead of reading through all of the titles and numbers, I'm going to hand it over to Brenda, who's going to walk you through the 1 initial and 8 recommendation PRRs that we have currently. Brenda?
Thank you, Nicole. Yes. For the first PRR here today is 1335. This is an update to the charge code 7020 for the reliability must-run capacity payment. And the description of the reason of revision is mentioned here. And our next step is to post a recommendation for this one. Next one. 1333 is the update for our pre-calc spend, non-spend, no-pay quantity. And this one is just to accommodate the channel 4 meter quantity being included for LESR and DDR resources. We didn't receive any comments at this time, and our next step is just to post the final decision, which will be done on this Thursday. Next slide. 1332 is just adding an attribute to support a unique pricing for day-ahead marginal cost. This is for the day-ahead settlement, and we have no comments submitted at this time, and our next step is to post final decision. 1331 is to update the BPM conversion guide, pre-calc system resource deemed delivered energy quantity. This is to do a system to accommodate the system resources whose E-tags are curtailed in the middle of the trade hour. The description is here shown below, and then also our next step is to post the final decision. 1330 is an update to the conversion guide of charge code 8835, annual resource adequacy availability incentive mechanism neutrality. And this is just to add on a flexible formula stream. Our next step is to post the final decision. 1329 is updating multiple BPM guides for the real-time settlement review phase 1. This effective date is 5/1/2021, and there's many of them. Please see the PR for any questions. And then the next step is just to post the final decision. PR 1328 is to support the hybrid resources phase 1 initiative. conversion changes, and this is to settle the hybrid resources for forecasting services. So this is just impacting one charge code, which is 701. No comments were received. Next step is to post final decision. We have PR 1323 is to eliminate the double penalty settlement for intertie resources. That switched from 15-minute economic bid to hourly bid option with the given trade date. The next step is to post final decision. And then we have 1322 to update the settlements conversion guide for grid management charge bid segment B in relation to the day-ahead nodal pricing model. Small change to the BPM. This is actually being retroactive to 1/1/2021. And the next step is to post final decision. And that's all for me. Does anyone have any questions?
As a reminder, you can hit #2 to enter the question queue.
We do have one caller. Caller, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Chris Devin from Customized Energy Solutions. My question was regarding PRR 1328, the hybrid resources forecasting settlements changes. So I'm just curious if the ISO is going to allow those resource owners to select the provision of that, or if they're going to just simply charge all hybrid resources with renewable components, similar to how it's done for all the other wind and solar EIR type resources. Let me know if that's not clear.
Thank you for your question. This is something I could bring back to the SME for this particular guide. He's in the office, so if you can email whatever's easier for you, you can email settlementuser@kaiso.com or submit a city ticket. We do have a settlement user group tomorrow at 10 a.m. We will be discussing those PRs as well with all the SMEs will be attending, so he will be there as well to give you a verbal confirmation on the resources that are selecting for this charge code 701.
Okay, I can just call in tomorrow. That's fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. Well, okay, thank you.
There are no other questions.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Brenda. The next PRR we're discussing is for the direct telemetry BPM, PRR 1327 for Pseudo ties for shared resources is in the recommendation stage. And I'm going to hand this over to Priyanka to discuss this PRR. Priyanka?
Thank you. PRR 1327 has been submitted by ISO for Pseudo ties for shared resources. Section 6.1 of telemetry BPM has been updated to include the requirements for the Pseudo ties of shared resources. We have not received any comments, and the recommendation comment period has expired on April 13th, 2021. The next step is to post the final decision. On the same subject, we have submitted an update to the metering BPM, PRR 1326 for Pseudo ties for shared resources. Section 3.4 of the metering BPM is updated to include the requirement of backup meters for loss compensation schemes. And a new section is added, section 4.4 for Pseudo ties of shared resources. We have not received any comments, and the recommendation comment period has expired on April 13th of 2021, and the next step is to post the final decision.
Thanks, Priyanka. Do we have any questions about either of these two PRRs?
There are no questions at the moment.
Okay, thank you. The next three the PRRs are going to be discussed with Jamal. The first two are for our market operations BPM. PRR 1337 is related to FERC Order 831, compliance for energy cost recovery penalty prices. and PRR 1334, which is a state of charge reservation for regulation. Both of these are in the initial stage. Jamal?
Thank you, Nicole. With regards to 1337 related to the market operations BPM changes, as Nicole mentioned, this is related to the FERC Order 831 initiative. The penalty price section of the BPM was updated. This penalty price at which the ISO market would relax constraints under the increased energy bid price. Effective was March 20th for this change, and we did not receive any comment on this particular PRR. And the initial comment period expired on April 13th, and our next step is to post recommendation. I'll move on to the next PRR for the market operations as well, is 1334. Also, well, this is related to the state of charge or the SOC reservation for regulation, since our tariff requires all the resources to respond to the AGC signals. Storage resources providing regulation must have the sufficient SOC to respond to the AGC, and hence the change. We received a comment from WPTF on April 13, and a response was posted yesterday for that particular comment. Not sure if WPTF had the chance to look that over, but it is there on the PRR. The initial comment period expired on April 13, and the next step is to post recommendation. Is there any questions related to these two PRRs?
We do have one caller. Caller, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Jamal. Thank you. This is Rayanne Quadro from Gridwell on behalf of WPTF this morning. We did get your response, so thank you so much for that. And we just wanted to kind of clarify and make sure that we're understanding the direction that's going here. First off, we want to make sure we understand that when MSOC is activated, the prioritization for scheduling will be day-ahead energy over real-time regulation schedules. Is that correct?
That is in relation to the, you said the potential conflict on the 30-minute proposed SOC, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right, yes. This is only triggered when RUC load balance have infeasibility. That's the only time this will be triggered. So the conflict shouldn't exist. That's correct, yes.
Okay. And then it seemed like maybe there was a typo in the response, and I just wanted to make sure that regulation down needs to, the resource needs to be partially discharged so that it can charge more, not partially charged.
That is possible. I'll take a look at that, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's in item number 3 in the response. Definitely just one of those like flip of the finger keystrokes, I'm sure, but maybe worth updating just for posterity's sake.
Thank you for that. Yes, I will definitely take a look and I'll fix it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much again for your response. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We have no further questions in the queue.
Okay, I'll move on to the next one is related to market instruments, the PRR 1336. This is also in relation to the FERC Order 831, but this is for the price screening methodology phase for the input bits greater than $1,000 a megawatt hour. Also, that was effective March 20th. And no comment was submitted, and the initial comment period expired on April 13th, and the next step is the post recommendation for this PRR. Any question on this particular one?
As a reminder, you can hit #2 to enter the question queue if you have any questions.
There are currently no questions in the queue.
All right. Thanks, Jamal.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That is the PRRs that we had to discuss on today's call. The next PRR meeting is May 25th at 11 a.m. You can send comments to bpm_cm@kaiso.com. Also, utilize our commenting tool. Thank you, everyone who joined us today, and that concludes our call for today.
That concludes our conference. Thanks for using Event Services. You may now disconnect.